Jenna McDavid, a Houston ISD parent and former United Airlines flight attendant, is trying to get her job back after saying she was fired for confronting and criticizing state-appointed Superintendent Mike Miles while off duty in the United Airlines lounge at Bush Intercontinental Airport. McDavid filmed the encounter, which happened on April 9th, and then shared it to social media. She alleges shortly after local news outlets reported on the altercation, Miles and his now Deputy Chief of Staff, Nikki Esch, who McDavid says was with Miles during the incident, filed a complaint with United Airlines urging them to fire McDavid. McDavid says, I think the news coverage is kind of what irked Esch and Miles and prompted them to file a complaint. McDavid told Houston Public Media because they didn't file their complaint until the following Monday. During the minute-and-a-half video in which neither McDavid nor Miles can be seen, McDavid can be heard telling Miles, quote, you need to get the hell out of town, and calling Miles a disgrace to Houston ISD. That video has gone viral. United Airlines terminated McDavid in May. The airline declined to comment. McDavid added that she believes her termination is a violation of her free speech rights under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. What do you think? Should McDavid get her job back? Should Superintendent Mike Miles and his chief of staff filed a complaint? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I think she is wrong. I think that, but I don't know the facts. Was she in uniform?
Okay, I went and checked into that before the show. I was trying to find out what the whole thing was. She was theoretically or supposedly traveling and was in civilian clothes, not working. She was not on the clock, and she went into the lounge, and they can do that because they kind of look the other way when you're an employee or affiliated with the airline, so whatever, and got into the lounge. So she was not there in a formal capacity. She was not on the clock. She was not wearing a uniform.
Then how did they know she was a flight attendant? Did she identify herself as such?
In the social media that she then posted, it tied her back to the job that she has. So in her Facebook or her Instagram, whatever, it also showed she works for the airline.
And pretty much nowadays, anything you do, you can expect to be traced back to where you work, who you are. I mean, we see it over and over and over again in very public situations, whether it's that lady grabbing a ball from a little boy or, that CEO or, if you're having an affair and you're at a Coldplay concert, we see these things happening.
Yes.
What I find very interesting is she herself videoed herself and she herself posted it.
Right.
So she felt like she was within her First Amendment rights to do so. Obviously, she wouldn't have posted it to say, hey, let's see if I get fired or not. She did it because she wanted to make a statement, and she felt like she was protected by the United States Constitution, which the U.S. Constitution is for the courtroom and for maybe public avenues.
Right. It is a right-to-work state we live in. You can be terminated for anything, but there are unions that do exist, even though it's a right-to-work state that then fight to keep
the
your
U.S.
jobs.
Constitution doesn't apply to your workplace.
No.
It never has. And so to think, well, I can say anything I want anytime, that isn't true. And so that's why I asked, was she in uniform?
Right.
But then she did tie herself back to her job.
That was my big sticking point. How was she presenting herself? If she was on the clock, in uniform, that's a whole different thing because, and we want to hear what you think, 713-440-8870.
And she videotaped it.
Right.
So she wanted a record of, I'm going to confront this person, and I want a record of it. I'm not sure why. Why do you want a record of this?
My thought is that, if any of us were traveling, and sometimes we put ourselves out there, how would we feel if people came up to us, we were traveling and started, getting in our face or telling us things, posting it? What I'm saying is I think there's a social contract that we have lost where there's a lack of respect for people in their private time. Superintendent Miles wasn't out at a school. He wasn't out, doing some type of press. He was not out in a public area. He was in a private lounge, sitting there, minding his own business, regardless what you think of who he is or what he's done for the school district. There are other people in the lounge that are sitting there that are just traveling. I just don't think that is the right place to confront somebody.
I agree.
And
it may not have been the right place.
I also think that Superintendent Miles and, his chief of staff or his person, they filed a complaint and they are in the right to file a complaint saying, hey, listen, I was she was not working, but she was in the area of her work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me is that's
Yes,
like me
had it been-
confronting. It's like me coming into the office and confronting somebody that I disagree with.
How would you have felt if it's the school board meeting and when it's open time for people to give comments, she had come in and said the exact same thing?
I would say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
What if she was wearing her flight attendant's outfit?
Still, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
So
because because we have designated time, where you can critique and you can say what exactly you want to say to his face with other board members, in the public.
Well, I've often thought that like the what we wear and who we are has more power with wherever we go. And so if she goes to a board meeting in her flight attendant's outfit, I think she risks if she looks like she's representing United Airlines, then she's crossing the line that they may in their employee handbook says you cannot do that.
Yeah. 713-440-8870. We did get a text or a YouTube comment. Dark One Joy says, if you're a public servant, you should not be that thin-skinned. I believe they're probably talking about Superintendent Mike Miles. And my British computer guy says, my friend is a flight attendant. When he's in traveling on United Dime, she is still considered an employee on or off the clock.
And that person, this woman, was probably in the lounge because she's a United employee and probably flying on United's free perk.
Well, we shouldn't assume.
But everybody I know that's a flight attendant flies for free.
I'm just saying.
Or
we
pays
don't
the
have
taxes.
verified facts there.
And I want to clarify that what she said is not the issue. It's where she said it. And I think that to me is the issue, is that absolutely it is her right to be able to
criticize
and how she said it.
A public, absolutely it is her right to do that. But,
we have a call.
713-440-8870. Brooke from Wendell Park. Brooke, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that she was not in uniform at the time of the confrontation. And for Superintendent Miles to find out her employer, I mean, he had to go looking for that. And so, I mean, that shows to me that, like, he was extremely aggressive in his response to, her being upset. And I think that that's important to acknowledge, too.
Yeah, but, I don't know with whom he filed the complaint. It might have been the person at the President's Club and said, listen, this other person is bothering me. I don't know that it was an actual complaint with United because I don't know that he knew she was a United flight attendant. I mean, I just don't have the full facts. Do you, Brooke? Do you happen to know that?
United. I believe that's what was reported.
Yeah,
it was filed with United.
Yeah. Brooke, first of all, yes, we did state she was not in uniform and she was not in an official capacity at the time and was not on the clock when it happened. The second part about him finding out her employer, when she posted on social media, I believe her social media accounts indicated where she worked. So it wasn't a lot of work, I don't believe, to uncover that. But yes, so just a couple points there. So, Brooke, thank you very much for calling in.
And again, 713-440-8870. And again, we understand Superintendent Mike Miles is a very controversial figure. And the question then becomes, should people be able to confront, public figures like that and controversial
at
public
any
figures
time, anywhere?
At any time, anywhere. And should Superintendent Mike Miles filed a complaint against her?
Let's find out what Ruth from Rice University thinks. Ruth, you're up next.
Hi. Yeah, I just think it's interesting that the superintendent's behavior here is so consistent with how he is across the district, right? I mean, this is a man who claims that he's so supportive of teachers, but then he goes after anybody who says anything against him, and teachers lose their jobs left and right. He's a very vengeful person, and I think it's just really consistent with his overall behavior, and it speaks to his character, which is, that he's so thin-skinned that he can't handle someone telling him that what he's doing is hurting their kids, which is true across the district. And so he has to, he has to resort to, like, this vengeful, I'm going to turn you in and get you fired, which is, I don't know. It feels a lot like, I don't know, 5-year-old. And that's kind of how he's running the district, which I think is sad.
Ruth, thank you for your comments. It kind of brings up two different questions here.
Right.
One is his reaction to the comments. Was it appropriate or inappropriate? But also her behavior and how she approached and where she approached. So we have two different things at play here.
Yeah. And
Can
that's
I
what I've
make
been
this
trying to
point?
say is, that.
Can I
right.
make this point? If you or I got on a United Airlines flight and started yelling at the flight attendant, this seat's not comfortable. I don't like this drink. I don't like this food. I don't like this airline. You would be in so much trouble with United Airlines and probably the United States government. You might end up in jail for causing that kind of an altercation. So a flight attendant should know better because they are the police on the plane. And we've read these stories too of people getting drunk or even not drunk, and they say things.
And being disrespectful
Victoria
to them.
Osteen got thrown off the plane and off of first class
right,
years
Victoria
ago. It was a
Osteen.
big scandal because she said something the flight attendant didn't like.
And I don't want to
So-
conflate or confuse the audience in that this did not happen on a flight. It did happen in the lounge.
Correct.
It was in the airport.
But a flight attendant has a lot of power on the plane. And I would venture to say, in the president's lounge, if you went into the president's lounge and started pitching a fit with one of their employees, you would
You'd be
be
escorted
probably
out.
there in a heartbeat.
713-440-8870. Bob from the Heights is on the line. Bob, what are you thinking?
Hi, good afternoon. I just heard something a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to just ask respectfully that y'all kind of clarify when you're talking about the First Amendment. I think it was something to the effect that it doesn't protect your speech at work or whatever. It doesn't protect you from getting fired, but it absolutely does protect you everywhere. What happens when you say something or the repercussions is a different topic, but you can say whatever you want, wherever you want, and however you want, and you are protected. It's just not being arrested.
No, Bob, thank you for the clarification on that one. We appreciate that.
Is Bob a lawyer?
I think we said that to clarify, the comment was that the amendment, the Constitution protects you in the courts.
Of course, that's what it's for. And it protects you against the government. But your employer has a right to say, we don't look at the First Amendment in this building. Right. You cannot go into your boss and say whatever you want and think that that's just okay.
Right. And again, 713-440-8870. We do have a call. Stephen from North Houston is on the line. Stephen, what is your comment or question?
So my comment is she was in the lounge in civilian clothes, and the hypothetical is raised, well, what if she was at a school board meeting in her uniform? And I would put it to you that if she was in a board meeting in her uniform, I'm pretty sure that dude would still go after her with her employer to have her fired, because that's the way these people do business, and I think it sucks. She was in the lounge as a civilian, and she was talking to a dude that was in charge of her children's school, and she had every right to do that. And for him to go after the fact when it blew up in the media and he found out where she worked, and for him to go after her, I think that sucks. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks,
so do you think there's a time and place for everything or a time and place for anything?
Well, from what I understand, if I see somebody who's putting my child through it, wherever I see them, I'm going to let them have it. I'm going to let them know.
And you're going to record it and put it on social media?
Considering the circumstances of how that takeover went down and how shady that's been so far, yeah, I sure would.
Right.
I feel like doing so.
Fair enough.
Steve,
you.
thank you for that.
Stephen.
I want to jump just in here quickly, and just for point of reference, the First Amendment says, Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Right.
That is it.
Congress shall not.
Make
it doesn't
laws.
say United Airlines shall not. It says Congress shall not.
It protects
and that's
us.
It's a huge difference. No,
protects
it does
us.
not protect you, Ernie. It protects you from Congress making that kind of a law, not United Airlines making that kind of a law.
But also in Texas, as we've stated, it's a right to work state. They can terminate you for any any issue that they want. They do not have to. Other states don't abide by that.
True, but
Texas
I don't know
does.
what that has to do with freedom of speech.
Well, okay.
And
Let's
again,
go back.
713-440-8870. I do think that the question then becomes is, on our YouTube, but my computer British guy says, sounds like the flight attendant, or I'm sorry, you can say what you want, but you need to expect that there will likely be consequences. Right. And the question then becomes is that there perhaps wouldn't have been a consequence if Superintendent Miles had not filed a complaint. And so the question then becomes, should he have filed that complaint?
I don't know what the complaint was exactly. Maybe it was, get your people to pipe down, or I would like an apology,
right?
Or I want that person fired for what she said to me. I don't know what the complaint was.
And again, 713-440-8870. We do have another. Celeste from Rosenberg is on the line. Celeste, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yes, good afternoon. So my comment is that if the flight attendant, she was that passionate about it or upset, why not follow the proper protocol and go to the school board meeting and file your complaint or lobby your complaint there? I don't agree that you have the right to just confront somebody 24 hours a day. Oh, I see him in Kohl's or Sephora. Let me go and give him a piece of my mind. Why don't you follow the proper procedure? And she is still technically in the workplace. She's in the lounge. That's like going into the break room and confronting someone. People pay a lot of money to have access to the lounge. And I'm sure, I'm guessing, I don't know for certain, but I'm sure most, people who consider themselves VIPs or important people, they're in there for a reason. They don't want to sit on the carpet and pass, by random folks. So let me pay a little money for a little extra, privacy and time to myself.
Yeah. All right, fair
I think
enough.
We lost
Celeste.
our connection.
Yeah. Let me jump in here one more time. Again, American Civil Liberties Union does say, yes, the First Amendment protects speech outside of a court or government agency as it applies to actions by the government that restrict expression. This protection is strongest in public forums like streets and parks, but the government can place reasonable restrictions on time, place, and manner of speech.
And again, 713-440-8870. We do have quite a few calls coming through. We'll try to get all of them in. Arnim from Houston is on the line. Arnim, welcome to Hello Houston.
Arnon, are you there? Arnim? Okay, let's go to Jana from Deer Park. Jana, what's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say that the flight attendant's comments were issue-oriented. Frank referred to drunken behavior on an airline. Well, it's not drunken behavior. It's not anything like that. She was addressing an issue that was of critical importance to her as a parent of a student in HISD. And that same concern is widespread. She is an outspoken person. You have to allow freedom for outspoken people to speak. Not all of us are shy and retiring and don't want to say anything to power. But this woman did, and she had every right to. Now, to say that the First Amendment only refers to what Congress can do or the government can do, technically that might be true, but the American people's understanding of the First Amendment goes way beyond that. And I think that's what needs to be defended, not a technical application of Congress applying the First Amendment.
Jana, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.